This is the Bob Cordaro Show on TV.
They fought for us, now he'll fight for you. The pursuit of justice and liberty. It's the Bob Cordaro Show on TV.
And now, Bob Cordaro.
Great. Good morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. My name is Bob Cordaro, and this is the Bob Cordaro Show on TV. I'm a native of this region, born, raised, and returned twice. As many of you know, I do radio 5 days a week, 9 a.m. to noon on WILK. Appointment radio, we call it. And now we do this thing, the Bob Cordaro Show, each and every week at 11:30 here on WNEP TV. This show is devoted to the greatness of our area, northeastern and central Pennsylvania. So we accentuate the positive, talking to people who make this area great. We don't tell each other that fact often enough. We also focus on people who have or want connections to this area. Is it cheerleading? Darn right it is, and we need more of it. Well, first we're joined by Dr. Bryan Frantz and his better half, Doctor of Internal Medicine, Dr. Linda Frantz, for a lively discussion on how their respective practices and disciplines interact and how they work together. Can't wait to see the both of them on one stage. Then our Power Brunch Player of the Week is my old friend Phil Odom. Phil came from a hard scrabble upbringing to success in basketball on the high school and college level, and then on to professional achievement as a sports coach, mentor, and someone deeply involved in making this a better community. So with the help of God, our families, and each other, let us begin.
Dr. Bryan Frantz is an internationally recognized periodontist. He heads a multi-specialty dental practice in Dunmore and has consulted, lectured, and taught around the world in his chosen field.
Our guest today is Dr. Linda Frantz. Joining me is her husband, Dr. Bryan Frantz, as always, because it's Women's Health Month. And her practice, it doesn't focus on women. It's a very broad-ranging practice in internal medicine. But she's very keen to that subject. And so this last Sunday of March, we want to talk about it. Dr. Linda Frantz, welcome.
Thank you, Bob. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
You've been my doctor for a long time. and so you have it's a diverse practice. All ages, all male, female, you name it.
I start from teenagers, and my oldest patient right now is 100 years old.
You were in Philadelphia with
Yes.
Bryan and I, Jefferson. Then you went up to Rochester for and Strong Memorial for more education. And you came back here to settle in. Bryan's talked a little bit about that, but I think it's important to know you're a Southsider. I mean, born, raised, returned, and continue to practice. How long have you been practicing?
We've both been practicing since 1988.
Wow.
And I am a Southsider, one of 5 children. My parents, Louis and Pauline Sebastian. My dad was a mailman. Mm-hmm. My four grandparents all immigrated from Italy. And education was very important to our parents. So That was a concentration. We all 5 of us knew we were going to college. And my aunt Albina Sakari, she was prominent in wanting me to go into medicine. She was a head nurse at Mercy Hospital for years.
Yeah.
And what Linda will tell you was the absolute highlight of her career here at Scranton is when she met me at Scranton Central High School in 1977. I was tutoring her through an advanced chemistry class, and she fell in love.
Well, Linda knew that she would, if she went with you, Bryan, she'd always be known as the smart one.
I think Bryan's having a TIA.
And by the way, let me tell you, the truth be known, she is known as the real doctor in the family. Okay, and in the practice, by the way.
Go ahead,
Yeah,
Bryan.
sure. So, one thing I do want to point out is that, you talked about your education at the University of Scranton. You were an honors biochemistry major and then on to Rochester, et cetera. You were also the first female president of the Lackawanna Medical Society, which I think was a real significant thing.
It took 127 years to elect a woman president.
Is that all?
127 years. So, Linda, why don't tell us a little bit about, why you wanted to come back to Northeastern Pennsylvania and practice internal medicine.
Sure. Well, we're very rooted in Northeastern Pennsylvania. Both of our families were here. And we did love Rochester, New York. We had offers to stay there, but we had the calling to come back and be with our parents and our family. We knew we wanted to have a family and, raise our children here in Scranton. And fortunately, we did come back because a year after we were back, Bryan's father passed. So we did have time with him, with two of our children, before he died. So
what's remarkable to me, Linda, too, and we've talked about this with Bryan, the whole family they're all in healthcare. They're all doctors, and they're marrying doctors. It's a remarkable thing. And I said for sometime in April or May. We have to do a grand finale with every one of you involved. I think it would be great.
Yeah.
Linda, Women's Health Month, the focus that the first thing everybody thinks about is breast cancer.
Absolutely.
Talk to us a little bit about that.
Sure. Breast cancer is the number one cancer in women. And 12.8% of women will develop breast cancer in their lifetime. So that's 1 out of 8 women over the course of their lifetime will have breast cancer. So it's very common. And I think last year, 250,000 women were diagnosed with cancer.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's very common. The second common cause of death in women, I think 40,000 women died of breast cancer last year. But the good news is that the death rate is decreasing. We're doing well with early detection and treatment. And for the last several years, the rates decreased. So women are living longer.
Linda, talk a little bit about what's improved in detection. You said, the detection has increased, deaths have decreased. What are some of the refinements that have happened in medicine over your career?
I think one of the major things is the digital mammograms, 3D tomography. So we have a much better picture of the breast. And that started about 5 or 10 years ago. And it's really, I think, detecting early breast cancers. In addition to that, we use ultrasound, which women who have very dense breasts, when you have a mammogram, you get a category of your breast density. And the 2 highest extremely dense breasts or heterogeneously dense breasts, those have to be further evaluated with an ultrasound because the density of the breast can mask a small tumor. So in conjunction, in those women, when we do the ultrasound in conjunction with the 3D mammogram, we're finding very early detection of breast cancer.
So the actual technology with the mammogram has improved dramatically, finer detection, et cetera. How does that compare, say, to genetic testing?
Well, we only do genetic testing in people with high risk. Mm-hmm. So if a woman or a man has a family history of early breast cancer, BRCA gene is the genetic gene that is associated with breast cancer. It's also associated with colon cancer and gynecological malignancies. So if a patient comes in and I'm doing their history on them and they say, well, my mother had breast cancer, my grandmother had ovarian cancer, my cousins have polyps or colon cancer, then that's a clear signal that we need to really evaluate them for genetic testing.
Mm-hmm. And so, again, back to the mammogram for a second. At what age do you start suggesting that, females have this sort of testing done?
Sure. I like to start in routine screening patients without high risk. We start at 40. And that can go on forever. As long as women are healthy and they would do something about their breast cancer if they found one, then I recommend that they have a mammogram.
Okay. So early detection key.
Early
Staying in touch with
key.
Your physician and mammograms after the age of 40.
But if you have a risk factor, then we even start at 30 or 35. It depends. When I was a resident, I had a co-resident of mine who died of breast cancer. She was 29 years old. So breast cancer can occur in 20-year-olds. It can occur in 100-year-olds. It's if you feel a lump or, have an early family history, we have to start screening and detecting early.
Linda Frantz, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And now, the Sunday Brunch Power Player of the Week on the Bob Cordaro Show.
So our Power Brunch Player of the Week is my old friend Phil Odom. He's got really a remarkable story. I'm going to let him tell it to you. But he's a basketball star. He's been a great coach. He's been a great mentor. He's started programs around this area that have really had an impact. And I've been dying to talk to him about this and all the things he does. Phil, welcome.
Hey, thanks, Bob. It's great to see you.
All right, Phil, you had a tough upbringing. I mean, things were not easy for you, and you had a lot to overcome on your way to basketball stardom. Tell us a little bit about growing up.
Well, first, I think basketball saved my life, right? Without basketball, I wouldn't be here today. So I was a real avid basketball player, growing up in the Bronx, New York, single-parent household, 3 sisters, a brother. So just coming up actually 2 sisters and a brother, but just coming up, it was just difficult. Trying to figure things out. Went to a school called DeWitt Clinton High School.
Oh, DeWitt Clinton, big basketball. Yeah.
Played basketball there. Then had the opportunity to come out and play at Keystone under Dennis Misko. So Dennis Misko, I would say that he saved my life, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here because I had a gap year. And during the gap year, like you're trying to figure it out, you're in the streets a little bit, you realize this is not what I want. I had a mother that was a heroin addict and a drug addict, and she died when we were 16 years old. I was 16. So it was difficult, like trying to put things together, automatically become the man of the household. My sister had a kid at the age of 14. My other sister had a kid at the age of 18. And then, trying to figure it out. At that time, I had went to live with my grandmother, and because there was no room, when you grow up in an impoverished environment, and you start dibbling dabbling in places that you shouldn't be dibbling dabbling in, and you say like, I'm worth more than that. I don't want my mother to die in vain. I want to be able to be better than that. So it was just a hard time. Like if like people think like it's a lie. Because you're like, there's no way you can experience that much trauma in your life and be able to be the person that you are today. Because people just see Phil, but they don't understand what I've been through to the Bronx as Butchie, So it was very trying,
Yeah, and you've got, I think you were confronted with 2 choices, and one was bad, maybe even really bad,
right,
and the other was much more difficult, but has turned out to be really good.
I was
great,
right? I think that I was truant from 1st to 3rd grade, right, and then from 3rd grade probably until I graduated from college, I never missed a day of school, right, and I think that because school becomes your safe haven. It was the place where I was going to be able to get a meal. Teachers took care of me. Everything was okay. And I knew that I was out of the household in which that was basically chaos, and then I said, at school, I could, continue to do the academic thing. If you're there all the time, you just become smart by default because you're there all the time. And I always was a kid that was a in-school kid. They'd be like, well, Phil's never absent, because I just think that it was a great place for me to be, considering the environment that I grew up in. And then, so being there was extremely helpful. Like the bad side was bad. We was homeless.
Yeah, that's
we was homeless, right? We were homeless. Like public assistance, not really public assistance. So when you grow up, in an impoverished environment, extremely poor. Like you look for avenues to try to survive. I was blessed enough to have a grandmother that allowed me to stay, but living with my mother, it was difficult, especially her being an alcoholic and an addict. And that's why I don't drink or smoke today, because of her addictions. I said, I don't want to be that, and I knew that at a young age. I can remember probably my most vivid memory of things that had happened and occurred. Like it just sticks with me is when she went to work, right? She went to work because she finally had a job. She worked at a cookie place, and we probably ate cookies all week. And then Friday she was getting paid and we was going to eat. And it was like, she was supposed to be home at 6. It was 7 o'clock. No mommy. 8 o'clock. No mommy. No. Probably around.
How old were you at this time?
I was probably 10. And I came. We heard a knock at. My sister went to bed. It was like 11 o'clock. No mommy. So I looked through you know, in the projects, they got a peephole that you look outside of, and you look out, and I look outside, and I only saw like the 2 cops. I didn't see her. So I opened up the door, and it's like in New York, they give you like this gray, woolly blanket. And it's like, hey, your mother was coming home from work and she was raped, beat, and robbed, you know, and brought her in, and I washed her up, you know, and she was like, you know, like, don't ever be like me. You know, she's like, I don't, you know, like everything I touch turns to crap, and I just don't want you to be like me. And I knew that I was never going to drink or anything like that because of that, you know. And then it was like instances like that. Like I come home, and I think the day she probably kicked heroin is the day I came home, and she was laying on the floor, and she still had the syringe in her arm. Took it out.
How old were you then?
Probably 11.
Remarkable.
You know, took her in the bathroom, put her in a cold bath, smacked her, woke up out of it, out of the shock. And, you know, the only reason I knew that because I seen them do it to somebody else before. Yeah. Right. So I knew how to do it because of that. And then, you know, like she woke up and she was like, what's going on? What are we doing? You know, like, what are you doing? Like, we kids. We shouldn't be going through that. And, you know, she took her smack pack and threw it out the window, and she kicked drugs, but she became a severe alcoholic, you know, so one vice to the next vice. And neither one is good. You know, you just learn how to manage a little bit better as a kid.
Phil, so you say basketball saved your life. Did it start as street basketball or an organized program?
I played school basketball. So I played in middle school, played my senior year of high school. I only played 1 year high school basketball. For 7th and 8th grade basketball, I was good, right? But I had to survive, so I worked. Right? But I was a better baseball player. So I played baseball all the way up to high school as well. I used to play in all type of leagues, adult leagues.
When you were playing as a young kid, did you see that as your way out? Did you envision it that, or just something to escape?
Just something to escape as a way to get away. But, you know, people say, yo, you're really good or you're really talented. But I didn't have the support, right? It's different when you have some support and you have somebody that's pushing you there. And I had a couple of, like the president of the baseball league was there. It's like, listen, you could really make it, you know. And I didn't think that I was going to make it because I was still thinking about surviving. You know, I was kidding more about what was going on in the household than outside. You know, like when you're outside, you think about outside. When you're inside, you think about inside. So, you know, outside, I was just a tremendous athlete. You know, did so many things. I boxed. I did a lot of things. But then when it came to being back in the house, I'm like, it doesn't feel like it's hope there, right? Because I have no support. I have no way of somebody saying, pushing me towards the dream, you know? And now today it's a little bit better where you have so many AAUs. You know, back then the AAU was only one. We had the Gauchos, you know, and Riverside was on the other side, but it wasn't as explosive as it is today. So you just learn from that. So
we fast forward, you take to the hardwoods as a senior for the first time. For DeWitt Clinton High School.
Yes.
A basketball powerhouse of long standing.
Yeah.
And Dennis Schmisko finds you at Keystone College, and he wants you. So 1 year of basketball, he knows you're that good.
I think that because, let's say, for example, he had a couple of people that came from the Bronx there. And there was a guy that went to Taft High School named Eric Farmer. Eric Farmer was like a pro, you know, to us. And he had went there, but I didn't know that until an incident had happened in New York. I said, I got to get out of here, you know. Came, and Coach Mitchell didn't know I was coming to the campus. You know, I ended up on the campus. He's like, what are you doing here? You know, a year later, I said, I just want to play, you know, and I came in and started both of those years. And
you're Hall of Fame.
Right, yeah.
Assist leader. Are you still all-time assist leader?
All-time assist leader, all-time steals leader. Yeah. You know, so it was great. You know, then I was blessed with an opportunity to receive a scholarship out in Tennessee, and it really didn't go well. It was an extremely racist place, right? So you say, I don't want to play just to play, you know? And so I came back to this area, and Coach Mitchell said, you know, come back here, we'll figure it out. You can work camps, and I started working camps, and I was blessed enough to work at a law firm office at the time, and they took me in, and everybody from there graduated from the University of Scranton, and I said, you know, the coach at East Stroudsburg went to sign and was calling me, say, Phil, come on, come on. I said, I don't want to do it. I said, just going to go to the University of Scranton. At that time, I was going to say I'm going to be an attorney, and thought I was going to take that route, and then you get caught up in wanting to save and want to help more. So the more of the counseling aspect comes out of you, and so you say, hey, I want to be in the business to help the masses, right? So you help the masses by trade, right? Because that's who you are.
So all of these things, all of these experiences lead you to say, I want to help. I want to be involved. I want to be a big part of this community. You start coaching, you start counseling, you start programs. You're currently with the Scranton School District.
Yes.
What is your title there?
Director of Youth Enrichment. So I'm a at-risk counselor for the Scranton School District.
Which is a tough school district.
To me, it's not tough, right?
Not
Considering from where I'm from,
comparatively.
right? So it's not tough considering where I come from. But, you get at-risk kids any place, right? It's just that here, because of the economical situation, that you find more kids that may be in need than others, So you go where your heart goes, and you want to help where your heart wants to help. And I feel like that's just a great place to be for me.
And you still coach?
Still coach.
OLP.
Yep.
Our Lady of Peace.
27 years. 27 years at OLP.
You still counsel?
Still counsel, still dealing with kids. I have a program that,
I
have a couple of programs.
With your programs with the district attorney's office.
So when I was a counselor for the district attorney's office, Judge Brunch at the time said, hey, Phil, I think that you'd be, more helpful being inside the district. So that's why I went there. And so now being inside, the Scranton School District, in which that the program started was for, the district attorney's office said we need a person that does prevention and intervention, right? So they say, hey, we want to be able to reach kids before they get to our system. So that's why I was placed there. And then, but it was, at the time it was Mr. Baker, it was Mr. Williams, who all three of them, Mr. Burris got together and they all came together and said, hey, let's start this program. And that's how this got started. So being involved in that, it helped me be able to start these programs. Like I have a program that's called Ball Beyond Athletics Life Lessons that teach them more, it's not just about athletics. You have to be able to expand beyond your sports, right? You got to be able to use basketball as a way, as I did, to get someplace. So I try to teach them about that. Then I run my 25th years of running my Let's Hoop Out basketball tournament, which that provides Thanksgiving dinners for kids in the community that, also, for supply to treatment court because my mother was an addict. I want to be able to, and I didn't have Thanksgivings, I didn't have Christmases. So this is my way of almost giving back.
You do these programs around Thanksgiving,
right,
and I told you we're gonna do this again.
Yes.
As you tee that up this year.
Yes, and then I do a program for Christmas in which that I donate, hoodies, Christmas gifts, and things like that for at-risk kids. So it's like you do it because not for the novelty of it. You do it because you want to do it because it's who you are, right? I know how it feels to not have. So I want help out in any way I can. So I just know how it feels, growing up that way.
There's a Greek mythology of someone called Sisyphus pushing a rock up the hill. There's plateaus, but the rock would sometimes roll back on him. Do you feel that you're accomplishing something in a permanent way, or does it seem like too much of a wave?
No, I think in a permanent way because you impact lives, right? It's whether it's one life or 30 life, you impacting lives, right? And your job, sometimes there's going to be obstacles in the road, but it's like the song, we fall down and we get up, right? We got to be, the savior is just a person who fell down and got up, right? So we have to make sure that we continue to have that positive, hey, let's go. I don't think about the negative aspect of it because that's when it plays mind tricks on you, right? But if you just keep your mind focused on the positive, then positive things happen. I think that a lot of people get pulled down because I think that they feel like, well, I need to do more. No, I need to do what I can do, right? You can't do it all. You're only one person, right? And that's why there's several people out here who are doing it, you know, and they may not try to gain any recognition as well. You know, that's why you continue to fight. You know, I think that when a lot of people get involved, it becomes overwhelming. Then you have this expectation that I have to do more, you know, instead of just do what you can do. All I'm doing is doing what I can do. Right?
Do you find happiness?
Every day.
Because I don't know anyone who is more upbeat, optimistic, and happy every time I see you, and every time I've seen you since I've known you.
Right. But it's all about where you come from, right? If you understand where I come from and what I've been through, then you'll be like, you deserve the right to be happy, right? Because where you come from is grim, right? It's dark, right? You're like, I don't want to be here. So you have no choice but to be like, I want to be happy. You know, I want to be in a place that's positive. I want to be in a place that's good, but you got to put yourself there. You know, so I always tell these kids, if you don't love yourself, then nobody loves you, right? Then how can you go out and love some others, right? I have to love myself first in order to love others. I have to be happy in order to make others happy. If you put, you know, like everybody want, you know, I'm a problem solver, right? I'm a change agent, right? I want to go out and make a difference, right? And you can't do that if you're not in a positive place yourself. So you just got to make sure that you maintain that positivity. You know?
Well, we're going to have to thank Dennis Mishko for getting you here.
Thank him.
To Scranton, Northeast Pennsylvania.
Definitely thank him. And, you know, along the road, you know, Dennis Mishko started it, but he introduced me to a ton of families by doing camps, right? And that's why I feel so blessed, because I came in contact with so many good people that are here that it became home, right? It became home because you know that you were surrounded by good people. You know, and then some people, you know, like, are not good people. You know, to stay away from the people that are not good. You know, like, it's like this, yo, that person's not a good person. Why would I want to be around somebody that's not good? So I was blessed enough to be around so many good people who are also at the time trying to find a way to impact the community. You know, so, and I think that's the way that it goes. You know, it's a blessing. You know, like, people don't look at it it's just a blessing, right? That you know, like, you and I started this relationship 25 years ago, and you call me up and say, hey, Phil, I need you to be on A, B, C, D. You know, I want you to be on this board. I want you to help me with this. And we started that way a long time ago, you know, and I can remember when you and I were talking about doing group homes and everything else out here, right? Because that's who you were. You cared about the community. You cared about making a difference, in which that some people couldn't see it, right? And you did. So for me, I just say, you keep on pushing, right? It's the people in front of you may change, but your dream continues to be the one that you follow.
Well, Phil Odom, we're blessed that you made this home.
Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks.
Your Sunday Brunch Power Player of the Week on the Bob Cordaro Show. Join us every week for the Sunday Brunch Power Player of the Week.
Well, that's our show for today. Bowled over by Phil Odom, as I always am. And it was great to have Dr. Bryan Frantz and Dr. Linda Sebastian Frantz together. We'll see you next week on the Bob Cordaro Show on TV, 11:30 a.m. Sunday.